So it's like both sides of like hipsters can love it, but also action lovers can love it. He really walked a fine line with that film.
You come for the giant space bug battles, but you stay for the the thought-provoking satire.
The Jake Busey violin playing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Verhoeven, and I think that movie now especially, is like, I do think he is, I like the fact that Verhoeven is now respected. You know, he used to be seen as like a really respected Dutch art house guy who kind of sold out and went to Hollywood, but I think people now really respect that whole run from RoboCop into Total Recall, into Basic Instinct, into Showgirls, which is a flawed movie, but parts of Showgirls like are genuinely like amazing looking. Like they're just like the cinematography in that movie is fantastic. Into Starship Troopers, that's a pretty fantastic run. And I haven't seen Hollow Man. I saw it in the theaters. I haven't seen it since. I remember it being a little nastier than most of the movies.
It's a mean film.
Yeah, there's at least a couple of good sequences in that, and he always knew what he was making. Like his movies are so, I don't know whether the actors always realize, but he certainly knew what he was using, Casper Van Dien or, Elizabeth Berkley or Schwarzenegger. He knew what he was doing with those actors in a way that I think very few filmmakers that era really knew what to do with actors. Like in terms of like, I don't know if they were always in on the joke in some ways. I don't know if Denise Richards and Casper Van Dien were really aware of how bland kind of little Aryan characters would be used in Starship Troopers.
They were very well cast.
Yeah, they're really well cast, yeah.
I feel bad because while watching the behind the scenes footage of, also I just gotta say I love Showgirls because he swung with that movie, and you don't see that much anymore. Like he made some art there, so I kind of appreciated that he went for it. But so in Starship Troopers, everyone was applauding his directorial style, first on set, last off. Like he was mimicking the aliens running around going crazy. But on Hollow Man, when he did that, he hadn't had a hit in a while, so a lot of the actors were like, "Yeah, I don't know, whatever." Like it was kind of sad seeing like the progression of his directorial kind of like people adored him, and then like Brolin's like, "Yeah, he seems like this." I forget what he said in the DVD features, but he's like, "Yeah, he's like this manic autistic guy running around," kind of bagging on him. But Verhoeven did say that Hollow Man could have been directed by about 30 other people, and that's why it's his least favorite because it's the least Verhoeven-y, if that makes sense.
There's a really great, like one of the best how movies are made stories I've ever read, and I don't even know, I'm sure it's online somewhere, it might be hard to find, but Kevin Bacon kept a diary of making Hollow Man, and he was really blunt about what wasn't working on set and some of the problems, and Entertainment Weekly ran it in 2 issues. It's really great.
Whoa.
It might be on either, you might have to really dig through like the Wayback Machine or something online to find it. But I remember being really kind of I remember when, I think, if I remember correctly, his publicist or manager sent it to EW and was like, by any chance, would you want to run some of this? And I think they were like, yeah, we'll run all of it. Because it's like, it's basically like not about a disastrous movie, but just like, you just really understand how much of a pain in the ass it is to be an actor on a movie where things aren't going well. And Kevin Bacon's a really good writer, so it's really well done. But I thought it was, if you ever want to read like a really interesting just about like what life is like on a studio set in the late 90s, early aughts, that piece is really worth tracking down.
Oh, I'm digging it.
I just had a quick search, and there is an excerpt of it still on Entertainment Weekly, but not the whole thing. So just one page of it is available, it seems.
All right,
I can find it.
Okay.
If I'm going to set up sticks in my backyard to recreate the Leatherface sprint, I can spend some time searching around on the internet to pull that up. Actually, sorry, I know this is random, but also I met Brian back in 2017 when he reached out to me after a few Reddit posts I had. So I don't think I ever told you this, but that article was big for me. I actually have it framed on my wall. My wife got it framed for me. That was like because when you write dumb data and then someone picks up on it, you're like, oh, that was good. Like that, like I got picked up by Rotten Tomatoes shortly afterwards.
That's great.
So I've been working with them steadily. So that was like a good motivational boost. So if you're ever bored, I guess just look up Raftery and Mark Hoffmeyer and you can read the thing he wrote. But I was reminded of the sticks I set up in my backyard. So
oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, it's always nice when people connect over Reddit and then don't wind up launching a Bitcoin scheme or killing each other, or who knows what happens. So that was really fun. Those entries you did were really, really fun to read.
Hey, I got to talk to you about a car wash business I'm starting up soon. So after this episode, let's talk. All right. I'm trying to open up some car washes. No, I'm joking. But I got a new one for you, and I'm just gonna say it. Since this will come out in a couple weeks, but I tracked the walking distance of the characters Celine and Jesse in the Before trilogy, and then I tracked how far Sam and Frodo walked in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I'm gonna do a walking comparison of the two.
I like that.
Yeah, my walking posts have been good for me, like the Tom Cruise running.
Yeah,
And it follows
That one. Yeah, I guess. Man, I got a pattern of walking. It's too bad. Well, I guess I track the sharks, but they don't walk.
Which Before movie has the most walking? Is it the one in Greece, the last one?
Here, you know what?
I feel like they're ambling around a lot in that one.
Oh, they take the longest walk. And
Yeah.
actually, I have my notes here.
Plus, the second movie is only like an hour and 20 minutes or something, right? It's really short.
So they have actually two has 20. Oh wait, yeah, whatever. It's out now. 23 minutes of walking, and the third one has 20 minutes. Because
All right.
at the beginning they're at the airport, and then they're in the car, and then they're talking around the dinner table, then talking more, and then they take the really long walk, and then they argue for about an hour in the hotel room.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a timer in my hand watching these movies. It made me so happy tracking their steps.
I'd be happy to have any reason to rewatch those movies. I'm so glad they exist.
The Criterion package of those. Oh.
Yeah, I'm glad. I really hope they keep making those forever. I also really recommend, if you guys haven't read yet, the Dazed and Confused book by Melissa Mayers, which is really it's just, I mean, I know Melissa, so there's a conflict of interest, and a little bit of bias there, but even if I didn't, it's one of the best books about movie making. It's so much fun. And if you love Dazed and Confused, it's just like, I mean, I think I inhaled that book over like 3 days. I could not have read that book faster and with more genuine, like, page-turning joy.
That just came out, right? Is that the oral history of it?
Yeah,
or is there another book? Yeah, I asked for that for Christmas. My wife's getting me that for Christmas.
All right, well, you'll finish it by New Year's, I promise. It's a really fun read.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I'm finishing up Shea Serrano's Movies and Other Things.
Oh, cool.
And then I'll dive into that. Hey, dive. But yeah, one more thing that I don't know if you noticed on this clip. So Preacher spent about 7 hours putting together that makeshift rope.
And then Carter just doesn't
shirts.
use it.
Yeah, there's about 14 shirts, 18 pairs of pants, blankets, and it's excessively long. And it just proves that the shark was not trying to eat these people, because it was just waiting for them to climb out of there so it can open more doors. But when Carter comes back up and Preacher sees that Scoggins isn't back, he's kind of sad, whatever. But then Carter completely ignores the rope and just has Preacher help him up.
It's just rude.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I think about that.
And when you watch this movie, frame by frame, every week, you start picking up stuff. And I tried to see what was in the water that McAllister was looking at really closely, and I didn't notice anything in there. Jay, did you pick up stuff?
I don't know if there's something caught her eye in particular, but it's just you got a book. I think there's like some pair of sunglasses in there.
Beer bottle?
A metal cup. A baseball cap, but nothing out of the ordinary. I think it's more like, oh no, this area is flooded, is the reason for her kind of concerned expression. There could be a shark in here. I'm assuming there must be some kind of entrance to her room from the other side of the hallway, because like the shark's not going to come along on the land and go down those few steps. It's got to have made its way through a back route somehow.
I mean, Saffron Burrows does consternation very well. I mean, it is kind of her go-to.
That's perfect. That's a great. As soon as you said it, that flashed in my head. That's like saying Rufus Sewell does rakish really well. You're like, yes. He nails it.
I mean, the thing with this movie is, like, as much as I noticed some people would just probably seem like a joke, but it's like the performances in this movie are generally really good. It's the best use of LL Cool J, I think, in a movie. I mean, I think it should have made Thomas Jane a bigger star. Saffron Burrows is great. Like, it's a really well cast, and I do think. I don't know much about the screenwriters of this movie. I've looked them up over a couple times over the years, and I don't really see a whole lot of other credits for them. But this movie gives every character a couple really good lines. I mean, considering they're not on screen that long, you really do feel like you know all of them. And I feel like Stellan Skarsgård is just really great and dark.
Yeah.
And like,
he's barely in the film, but he has some real memorable lines and deliveries from early on, like when he's talking about the sharks are from a time of flesh and teeth.
Yes,
that really stuck with me.
Yeah, it is, again, it's a really it's for this kind of movie, it is so well made, but it's also just a well made movie for any kind of movie. I certainly think I use genre for a film just as a affectionate categorization, but I don't think that term degrades this movie at all. I think it's an A plus B movie in my mind, Well,
it knew what it was, right? It knows exactly what it is. And I have a question. Why do you think for years, people like that movie's so bad it's good, or that dumb movie? I mean, you called it in your article. I think you said something. It's smart dumb, or for lack of a better word. Like, why do you think people have this notion that it's so dumb or so bad it's good, or it's dumb? Like, what do you think? Just because it's a shark movie?
That could be it. I mean, it's funny. Smart dumb is an expression I always use, like in in praise where it's, I mean, I generally have a real a real warm feeling for movies that are doing ridiculous things in a very well executed style. So it's like, if someone were to say to you, this is a movie about a bunch of super smart sharks who gain enough intelligence, and there's a really deeply religious figure with a talking bird. There's a gazillionaire who gets eaten halfway through, who may have killed a bunch, who clearly is a murderer. You would say that is really dumb. So it's in theory, yeah, those are all like, that's ridiculous, that's silly, but it's so well done, and they treat it so seriously that I think, for me, that's why I use that phrase. I think some people maybe were down on this movie because, I don't know, because they thought it was a shark movie and it's stupid. I mean, clearly some of the CGI effects were, it was made at a weird time in CGI where like they've kind of reached the limits of what they could do in that first wave of 90s post Jurassic Park CGI. And once Lord of the Rings came, I think it made everything that came before look really kind of antiquated, I think these effects were really well made for the time, but I think they dated pretty quickly. I think there was also something that happened in the early aughts where any movie in the 90s that was at all cheesy, we were like, yep, it's in the past, forget it, we're moving on. We've got more exciting things to do now. But I certainly think Lord of the Rings kind of was once Peter Jackson really kind of figured out a new way to do digital technology and digital effects, I think it made some of these movies it really sped up the aging process for a movie like Deep Blue Sea from like an effects perspective.
Yeah, some of those shark scenes are kind of rough.
Yeah, I mean, Samuel Jackson's CGI body, it looks like when you see, like, there was a couple of years ago, there was that, like, South Korean animation company that was doing, overnight news, like, animation, like the Tiger Woods fight, and it's like, it looks like that. It looks like animation that was made over 24 hours, but clearly they spent months and months making his little body flop in the sea. It's just, it was a different time for technology, a different time for effects.
There's an oral history about that scene. If you ever get bored, you can read about it, or I can send it to you.
Yeah. I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, last week with Scoggins' death isn't great from a 2020 CGI perspective.
No.
The leg twitch, though.
The leg twitch, though. Yeah, it's all about the leg.
I just keep reading stuff about this movie where people are like, there's surprises and it's exciting, but it's bad. And you're like, wait, what? And someone's like, it's entertaining, but it's dumb. And I'm not going to tell you it's good. But I don't know. I guess for me, like, it's entertaining and has surprises, kind of makes it good. But I don't know.
That's the rub on. I mean, that's always going to be. I think people grow out of that at a certain point, but I do think that there is always going to be a kind of a rub when it comes to genre movies, because some people say, well, how can you possibly hold that up to a great, quote unquote great film? And I think the thing I found as someone who's today's my birthday and I'm hitting my mid 40s, it's like you just at a certain point with movies, you just find the things you unapologetically love and you place them all on the same level. Like, I'm not going to say that Deep Blue Sea is as good as The Third Man. However, when I watch The Third Man, I'm just as entertained and delighted as I am when I watch Deep Blue Sea about different things, but I don't put them on different levels anymore. I mean, I was kind of disappointed when a lot of websites did their top 10 movies of the 2010s. And a lot of the movies I saw, I love. I love Social Network. It's probably the best one of that decade. But I was like, where's Attack the Block, which is like such a fantastic, it's like an A plus B movie. And I think because it's an alien invasion movie with cool creature effects, people don't rank it as highly as they would something that might read as more esteemed or important. So I don't think it's snobbery. I think it's just that also the studios sell these movies in different ways. Warner Brothers didn't sell this as an Oscar movie. They weren't like, the trailer for this wasn't, Stellan Skarsgård giving a long speech about man and shark and where we are. It's like Warner Brothers sold this as a giant sharks will bite someone's head off. It's like, and that's how the public views it. That's how the public receives it.
Oh, that's a great point. Hey, which movie uses shadows better, The Third Man or Deep Blue Sea?
I mean, I feel like The Third Man may have invented shadows. So
I think so.
And again, I'm not equating them by any means, but I do think at a certain point, one nice thing about getting older when it comes to art is you stop trying to impress other people. You stop caring about or not liking or liking something for sort of baked in political reasons. I mean, it's like you just respond the way you respond. And like, yeah, I generally have always loved this movie, and I wouldn't change a frame of The Third Man, and I probably wouldn't change a frame of Deep Blue Sea. Again, not putting them as equal movies, but I do think it's possible to love them in the same way.
Yeah, I think my top 5 of the year so far, I have like Bloodshot at number 1. Then I have the Herzog documentary about the meteors. And I love Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
Yeah, it's great.
On the Rocks. And then one of the small acts, the one about the house party. I love that one. But Bloodshot's number one. I don't care. I liked it.
I got to say, Bloodshot had